weren't you going to be able to raise quite a lot of money for the food bank if the supporters didn't go to the Community Shield?
Yeah, we've already smashed the targets and we've passed £5,000 in just under 3 days, which is an incredible amount for Manchester Central Food Bank. It allows them to cover food costs for about 3 to 4 weeks. At the moment, they're feeding over 1,000 people a month, which is quite distressing. But yeah, it's a good thing.
Well, that's a great thing to learn. In terms of the kickoff time, what was your protest about initially? What was the thing that upset you most about the 5:30 proposed kickoff time?
Well, the fact that it's a complete lack of consideration by the FA for supporters making the way down. I mean, they've basically told on themselves with the statement that they put out yesterday, saying after taking full consideration of fans, but so they didn't before. You know, they've had a long time to negotiate this, and the fact that us 1894 Food Bank, many other City fans have said that this isn't fair. They did a 400-mile round trip on a Sunday, you know, with work the next day. Given the state of transport in this country at the moment, none of us see why this has to be done. It's not necessarily tradition. The past 3 seasons, it's been on a Saturday, so yeah.
I think I was listening to the debate the other day. It is a ridiculous decision when you think about it, but it's not a surprise. Are you disappointed it's only an hour and a half? Because it's a gesture and it helps, but it won't be enough to help everyone or convince everyone, especially those who've already decided they're going to boycott the game. Is that right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, in a little way, you know, like I said, we thank the FA for what they've given us there, but it's 90 minutes. It's what does it add on it? One more train, 2 trains. You know, the FA had to put on coaches for the FA Cup semi-final, and that was a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff. I had friends who didn't get back home to Manchester for half 1 at night.
That was because of the train strike, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, but not everyone will be going via trains. People will be going via coaches. You know, let's be honest. How many people can afford an £80, £90, £100 train, which is what it does cost nowadays to get down from Manchester? People will be getting coaches as well. If it was a Saturday, wouldn't be an issue, but it is 90 minutes is not enough, and I think this is indicative of something that's been going on for the past 20, 30 years across all fan groups. I'm glad that we've made the stand, but this is not just a City issue, this is everyone.
In terms of the positioning of the Community Shield, do you think actually it should be somewhere else apart from Wembley? Would that be better for the supporters?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know, it's called the Community Shield. I mean, it put the community back into it. With possibly the best footballing country that is adequately suited to be able to host games across the nation. In an ideal world, maybe it'd be between the 2 clubs, whichever is the biggest, most adequate stadium, equidistant between them. Villa Park would be fantastic. I mean, if we're talking a dream scenario, get it moved Saturday 3 p.m. Villa Park, but I'm sure contractual obligations mean they can't. But this is something for the future, and I hope when Wembley's paid off in, what is it, a year and a half's time apparently, I hope that's something that they look to going forward.
Well, you all remember that last year it was at the King Power Stadium in Leicester on a Saturday.
That was only because of clash of events,
Saturday evening, and obviously Manchester United hosted England on Monday night, so that maybe that those things start to happen a little bit more often. I do think it's important, especially with the national team.
So, do you know what it is? The FA, it's just greed because they're trying to pay back Wembley really quickly and make money on top of that, which is business, I get, but they're not thinking about football, because I've been banging the drum about this ain't just a problem that happens with the Community Shield. The FA Cup semi-finals are on 2 days at stupidly late times. You don't know relevance to. I mean, also the other thing from a footballing point of view is the FA Cup semi-finals becomes there's no prestige to the final anymore.
When you say greed, you do realise the FA is an NFP, don't you? It's not a business designed to be profitable. It's a business designed to distribute the money back into the grassroots of football.
Well, so's the PFA.
Well, what's that do with the price to choose? PFA's for the players.
They don't do it.
The governing body. Well, they would say they do. The governing body's job is to fund football throughout the pyramid. Now, I'm absolutely in agreement with the fact that putting a game at 5:30 on a Sunday evening is ridiculous, and I don't think it's necessary. I'm not necessarily. I do understand the sentiment of moving it around the country. But we are a country steeped in certain values and traditions. And one of the reasons why we have such a successful pyramid and such a successful Premier League is because of the imagery of English football has iconography attached to it. And one of them is Wembley Stadium. And when you play showpiece finals, like the Charity Shield as it once was, going to the Community Shield as it now is, it's a season opener. So
Not a showpiece anymore, though, is it?
It may not be, but for the broadcasters around the world and people that look at football through a different prism than we do in this country, which is why the Premier League is so successful, it is part of the razzmatazz of what the Premier League details. Now, we've now generated such revenue in football that we've given it so much into the confines of how players are getting paid, how managers are getting paid, that these games are all part and parcel of the bigger picture, which makes the Premier League such a significant.
So we're subservient to broadcasters because ultimately that's where the paymasters.
Well, so then therefore you're right. It's
absolutely
a bloody good argument, by the way. But then the actual relevance of that is right. But then therefore put them at a D. If you're going to play on a Sunday and it's a Manchester team, make it at least at latest 3 o'clock. For God's sake.
But again, ask yourself the reasons why, and the reasons may well be audience of broadcasters. And I've been saying for a long time, you've got a situation where the Premier League doesn't work for itself, it works with broadcasters. And this big monolithic organisation that everyone thinks is so powerful actually works with broadcasters. If it wants to change the times of its games, the broadcasters will do that and suit their own ends. But that's the paymaster. This is what people wanted. You wanted all the best players in the world. You wanted all the best players to be playing in Premier League. It comes with a cost implication. And these are all part of it. But the fact of the matter of the game being played at 5:30 on a Sunday afternoon is not right. It's not reasonable, and it shouldn't have been allowed in the first place.
Yeah, well, it's going to be 4 o'clock now, and it means that there is a slightly better way of transporting people to the game. But I wonder, Nick, whether you think that maybe more fan groups might be inspired to follow your lead and try to put pressure on the authorities when kickoff times are posted at certain different venues at certain times that make it inaccessible for the average match-going fan.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just for the record, this boycott has not directly been called off by City fans, and we're trying to even organise a place to show the game in Manchester, with more money going directly to the food bank. So this is something that we're still pushing. We don't feel that it has to stop at this just because we've been given something in a very short space of time. But yeah, other groups have been. Look, the reason the £30 away Premier League ticket cap came in was because fans came together and organised. We are standing on the shoulders of fan groups who've done this before across the country. I think if this can start a catalyst of football working for the fans, then that would be fantastic, and we will work with anyone who we have to.
So just to clarify, you've still called the boycott for the Community Shield. You're encouraging fans not to go to the Community Shield, and you're going to try and find a way of putting something on in Manchester in order to screen it. Yeah,
we have. We spoke. I think Lucas spoke to you on Monday about how many 80-something% of fans responded on Blue Moon Forum saying that they will go along the boycott. We asked 1894, just for the record, I'm with MCFC Fans Food Bank, not directly with the 1894. Sorry. The 1894 asked again on the forum yesterday after the proposed change, and 82% still said they will follow the boycott. They will not.
Okay, so what do you want the FA to do in order to make sure that this boycott doesn't happen and they do have the fans in the ground? How can they make that happen?
There is no reason that this game cannot be held on a Saturday. The last concert going ahead is Blur the week before. There is no major event in London that time. Make it a Saturday. 3 p.m. is ideal, but make it a Saturday. Look out for the fans, please.
Okay. I wonder whether or not it's on the Sunday because of the fact that does the EFL season start that weekend? I think it does, doesn't it?
I'm sure there's a reason, and I'm sure the police are in the middle of it as well, and the policing requirements. I'm sure it's not just as straightforward as
the police never allow games to kick off at Wembley after 4:45 anymore.
Well, this one did.
Well, they did, Sam, because they had it originally scheduled at 5:30
on a Saturday.
Okay, but the point is that there's a balance to be struck between the expectations of fans and the realities of a commercial venture. And fans' influence is very important, but we mustn't get ahead of ourselves. I've seen charters being sent to football clubs of what fans expect. I'm not sitting here as a former owner saying that fans shouldn't be priced in, because they are the lifeblood of the game. They are the thing that provides energy. But there is also slightly becoming an unrealistic expectations of how much influence fans think they're going to actually have. They've got it to 4 o'clock. It's a modicum of win there. It shouldn't have been at 5:30 in the first place. It should have been at a time that's more befitting. But again, I give you I load the question with the consequence. The broadcasters fund football. As long as you're prepared to push back and accept that the quality of football and the balance of probabilities that players aren't going to be able to pay the money and transfer fees aren't going to be at the levels that they're going to be, and everything's going to come down, and then maybe ticket prices are going to go back up again because people need to bridge the gap, then we'll all be happy then, but the fans won't be. won't be happy then.
Interesting to see what happens. Nick, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. And keep in touch and let us know what happens with the boycott. We'll be following that, whether or not there's going to be that many Manchester City fans at the Community Shield.